Dog City is ultimately about gambling. And I said, nobody's really doing anything about gambling. They're always talking about dope. I said, but, this city was founded on gambling. I said, so nobody's doing anything from gambling, nor are they doing it from a particular Black perspective. In Las Vegas, say if your spouse has a problem with gambling, you can actually call the casino and say, hey, please do not allow my spouse to gamble here. It's hurting my family, etc. And they won't let her gamble there. But with addiction, as you know, depending on the level of addiction, they're going to find a way.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Film Goes Podcast. Today I'm with the one and only KC. He's a writer, director, producer. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh,
And I've been seeing some of the cool stuff you've been doing with your action film,
Right.
action project, right? Because it's like
Right.
a series called Dog City. And we'll kind of talk about that, get into that.
Right on.
But yeah, let's start kind of at the beginning. Like, how did you start your journey into filmmaking?
All right. Well, first off, appreciate the invitation. I've been writing for some time. Started out writing children's books, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I had some good friends of mine who got into filmmaking. One who recently passed, Troy Price. He was out of Studio City, and he would always encourage me to get into it. And then I hooked up with someone who's now a good friend, Sam Dever, through a friend of mine, Will Edwards, who had the Will Edwards Show here in Las Vegas for about 6 seasons.
Okay.
And, so I would do little things here and there. And then Sam Dever said, hey, man, I'm shooting this video. We need a bad cop, in street clothes. And so being in the private security business for 2 decades, he said, man, it would be natural for you. I said, all right, man, I'll give it a shot. And then, so we did it. It was fun. A project came along that I auditioned for. I didn't get the part, but I got a call a couple of days later and said, we like your look. We like how you move. We're going to write a character for you.
Oh, okay.
I said, oh, wow, okay. So that was for a fee. And they shot 2 seasons here, 10 episodes. I think one was 8 episodes, one was 10. But we did that and, got some smaller parts. But, I was still writing, had some ideas for something to do out here in Las Vegas, and ran into a investor that I happened to be working for, Dr. Robinson, and she liked the project. I got her son involved in it, and thus gave birth to Dog City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started kind of acting first.
Yeah.
Other than the writing the books and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I just started acting first.
Okay. So I'm curious about the books. What made you want to get into children's writing, and talk a little bit about the books that you wrote?
Well, I was at an event and I overheard a teacher talk about how bad reading levels were here, and quite frankly, I thought she was exaggerating. And so I went and looked it up, and she wasn't. It's terrible, and it's still terrible. And that kind of drew me back to my childhood, because I really wasn't a great reader. And after doing more and more research, I saw that the reading levels for Black and Hispanic children were just awful, to put it mildly. And then I said, well, why? Oftentimes it's they don't have interest, and they don't have interest because they don't have representation. When I was growing up, it was Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, but I'm on the south side of Chicago. You don't see white guys in cardigans running around my neighborhood, or miles from where I am. So I couldn't relate. And so I know how challenging not being able to read and being literate is. I said, so what could I do to help? And so, I've always had a creative side, writer, I paint, etc. And so I started writing some books. I got with a good friend of mine, Ricky Scott. Shout out to Rick. He illustrated them, and I said I wanted to be an urban setting. I wanted to be very relatable, and relatable from a character standpoint, but also from a subject standpoint. So, people, as you may be aware, write children's books about all kinds of things. Some of them are silly. Some of them make absolutely no sense at all. I saw one book. Are there pickles in heaven or some? And but I've always kept in mind that it's the parent. It's the parent that makes the purchase. So you kind of have to. I felt you should appeal to both the children and the parent. So when we began to illustrate the books, we made it relatable for a parent just reading this to their child, because I was of the mindset to say, hey, I want the father to stop and say, hey man, this reminds me of the time when me and your uncle we ran over to the thing, and now look, lo and behold, you just spent 30 minutes with your child reading and connecting and telling them stories about your past, etc.
Yeah.
So that's the angle that I came with my children's book series.
Oh, that's awesome. How many have you done?
So I have 3 out now. 2 are in Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And we're working on the 4th.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Did you have someone translate it, or you speak Spanish?
I do not. I had somebody translate it.
Dude, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. You have the names of them?
Well, the series is called Hanging with Casey. I'm gonna send you the link so you put it up. And that's HANGNWITHKASEY. If you were to look that up in Barnes and Noble, I'm in their catalog, and you can order online. From there, I have 3 titles out. First one, My Cousin and Me. Most children have a cousin that they enjoy playing with. The second title, I Visit the Zoo. Most children love animals or want to see them or will see them. And the third one is My First Day at School. Children in the United States and in most westernized industrial countries will go to school at some point. So that's what I meant when I said very relatable titles.
Yeah. That's cool, man. What was the process of you, what is that called? Publishing the books and getting them out there?
It's tedious. It's not difficult, but it's tedious.
Did you self-publish?
I did self-publish.
Oh, okay. What's kind of like the process for that?
It's tedious, dog. You got to know what to do. I don't know how many cups of coffee I have bought for people just to, or lunch, just to pick their, hey, how do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you do that? What do you do this? What not to do? No, don't do that, because if you do that, it is a semi-lengthy process. Once you learn how to do it, it's pretty easy. But somebody starting out that doesn't know, they can find it a little daunting. So consult with somebody, buy them lunch. Hell, give them $500. I'll tell you, because that's going to save you so much if you don't know what you're doing.
That's good. So you mentioned Chicago. When did you move to Vegas, and what made you move to Vegas?
So we been in Vegas about 20 years.
Okay.
I'm a semi-native now. My family moved out west ultimately to get rid of the cold, and we were in a part of Chicago that was pretty rough, but I always draw back on that. That's what helped me, navigate through a whole lot of rough waters in adulthood, just being able to to have that grit, you know. But ultimately, again, it was weather, environment, social environment, and just opportunity.
And we talked about the books. When you started like with the creator, you said you also paint.
Yeah.
What inspired you to go into creative stuff? Because what's kind of like
Man,
your gig
honestly,
outside?
I just think is something that was born in me. Is born in someone. You look at videos like of say Bruno Mars. Look at him; he's dancing it, spinning around, and performing at 4.
Yeah.
It's just born in him. Some people can develop it, but I think that's something that I was born with. Always had a creative side. I was drawing at a very, very young age. Um, I would critique things that I would see on TV or film, and say, man, it would, what would have been funny is if they had done this and this and this and this, and so it just built it from there,
Yeah.
and eventually I started with acrylics, messed around with oils, painting, etc., etc. Then I started writing. I've been writing for a long time. I wrote treatments for people. I've written articles in magazines, local newspapers, etc. So it's always, like I said, I've always had that artistic bug, and the only thing I can contribute it to is it just came naturally.
For sure. So let's talk about filmmaking. I know you started with the acting stuff.
Right.
What made you want to create this project, Dog City, and was that your first project, or did you have something else you did before that?
No, that was my first project, man.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about Dog City. What is it about? Tell the people what it is, and kind of your process of creating
So
it.
yeah, so Dog City is, I was watching a lot of things that were coming out of the indie scene here in Las Vegas. And Dog City is ultimately about gambling. And I said, nobody's really doing anything about gambling. They're always talking about dope or just gangsters, but that gangsterism is dope or chicks. I said, but this city was founded on gambling. I said, so nobody's doing anything from gambling, nor are they doing it from a particular Black perspective. And so that's when I put together the idea for Dog City. And my man, Chris Robbie, he came in and helped me write a little bit of it. So again, the executive producer who I was working for, the topic came up of making a film. And I said, well, I got something we could do. And, she pulled me into her office, handed me an envelope. I said, well, what's this? She said, well, go make it.
Wow.
Hey, what do you? And so I had to figure out, again, consulting, getting with some good people, taking them to lunch. Hey, how do you do this? Shout out to my man, Will Edwards, Sam Dever, my brother Quan, he's been acting for 30 years. Angel Mendoza, you probably know Angel.
Yeah.
God was, I was fortunate enough to be running in some circles. Gigi, she came through. Amanda came through, and based on how I wrote it, I knew enough people, talent wise, that could fulfill the character obligation, and then some people who could fulfill the production obligation through recommendations, etc. I'll be honest, I was a novice when it came to certain things, but I always knew how I wanted it to look. So when I was conveying ideas to my DP, etc., and articulating what I'm looking for, I had enough eye to say, no, let's like this. Now, I wasn't tech savvy with the screen filter and all that other shit, but I knew what I wanted to see, and we were able to deliver it, and it was there. Now, did I learn a lot? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we were able to translate that transition that rather into chapter 2.
Okay. And you're directing all this, right?
Correct.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the plot. You said gambling, and I watched the trailers, and you kind of see the gangsters, you see like the guns and everything, but I didn't really get gambling from that. So how?
So in a nutshell,
yeah, just a little bit.
The one that's out. So Dog City is about the reason I say city is because it's Las Vegas, and I'm going to introduce some characters. And in any major city, there's all kinds of shit that's going on. And it's just this block of characters. And so my character, Indio, I run a gambling operation, underground gambling operation. I also have a racket for video poker machines that I extort businesses. I get to give you protection, etc. But that's all I deal with is gambling.
Okay.
So Angel Mendoza plays a guy that disposes of bodies for me when you can't pay your debt. So I only take high action, because in Las Vegas, say if your spouse has a problem with gambling, you can actually call the casino and say, hey, please do not allow my spouse to gamble here. It's hurting my family, etc. And they won't let her gamble there. But with addiction, as you know, depending on the level of addiction, they're going to find a way.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to find a way. And so I'm that guy that says, I'll take your action.
Oh, okay.
But,
shit goes down from there.
The penalty is high if you default.
Okay.
And so to not give too much of the story away, because it rolls into chapter 2, these are some of the players involved. But it ultimately centers around addiction, and the addiction that I'm talking about is gambling.
Yeah.
From a non casino standpoint, because that went on, number running, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the scene back east. You have a lot of OTB, off track betting.
Yeah.
Where you can go in there.
Bookies and shit like that.
Yeah,
right?
you place your bets, watch the screen. There's not a racetrack for hundreds of miles, but you could still go in there, off track betting. So, and being from Chicago and reading about that and seeing that, going back to visit, etc. in certain areas, that's real shit, and that's a lot of money, and there's a lot of things involved with that, seedy and non-seedy, but you're talking about a lot of money being exchanged, and those people are going in there and they're spending money.
What sparked the idea, other than like the gambling aspect of it? Was it just because there hasn't been a gambling thing, or what was like the spark of the idea for this story?
Well, the idea was, one time I asked myself, what could happen if you couldn't gamble in these establishments?
Right.
I said, well, they got to do something. They do something. What? And so that's kind of how I started playing with the idea.
Yeah. So you say you're also acting in it?
Correct.
What are some of the challenges like with you acting and directing for the first time? Well, I know you acted before, but you acting and then directing the first time, producing. What's some of the stuff you ran into?
Man, it's challenging. It really is, because you have to be aware of your performance, what other folks are doing. You're wearing many hats, and one thing that I found was that at the end of the shoot days, man, I was just so exhausted mentally. I was just drained. You know, all I wanted was a cold beer, hot shower, and a bed. You know, it takes a lot. It's draining, and as you have probably talked to many people here, everything doesn't go smoothly.
Right.
So it's just sometimes you have to rewrite something on the fly, but it's got to make sense because it has to make sense for the first one. It's got to make sense for the second one, and you got to remember there's a third one coming down the pipe. So it's gotta work. It's gotta make sense.
Yeah.
And so the mental toll that it takes. Now, you know, when you have $50 million budget, you know, you can get all your characters, you can get, you know, and things can go relatively smoothly.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're doing indie film, man,
Yeah.
you know,
You gotta adjust.
word of advice to everybody out there: don't shoot in May. So, you know, I don't have any children or anything like that, but, you know, graduation, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You know,
Mother's Day.
Cinco de Mayo, Mother's Day. It was like, man, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Prom.
Uh-huh.
You know, where the hell are these people? Don't shoot in May.
And it's starting to get hot. Like,
And it's starting to get
Yeah.
hot. And, you know, when temperatures rise, patience drops.
yeah.
Temperament, yeah, it just, yeah. So
Yeah.
my advice would be November through April. If not, shut it down. Just don't even do it.
So what was your the decision behind you acting and directing? Like, why did you want to do both?
Well, you know, the character that I portrayed, I thought that first off, I wanted to see if I could do it. But secondly, you know, when you write the story, you become intimate with those characters, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in the second one, I kind of took a back seat character-wise. Well, you know, Angel was the star of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never wanted to be front and center with this project because, you know, I'm dealing with actors who are far more experienced and better than me. So it's not about me. It's about this story that I did want to be a part of. But I thought this character in particular fit a lot of what I've seen throughout my life. And I thought I could personify him in a way that would be believable and come across in a genuine way.
Cool. So you're doing episodes. What was the thought behind also doing episodes instead of a full feature? And how long is each episode?
Well, actually, it's chapters. So
Right.
the chapter 1 is 50 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 50 minutes. We are in post for chapter 2.
Mm-hmm. That's almost a movie. 50 minutes.
Well, yeah. But chapter 2 is probably going to be a little bit longer. It's probably going to be 55, 60 minutes. Because, like I said, man, these characters are complex. And I'm hoping that someone will take a look at this and say, you know, there's a lot we can do with this.
Mm-hmm.
If we get a solid writing team and, you know, you put some big fight, you know, some money behind this guy, because you could spin this character off. You could spin this character off. Well, how did he become this way? How did they meet up? How did they meet up? Well, who are these Mexican guys? What's their deal? You know, you could spin this and have 20 episodes, really. You really could.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was show showcase the story, the actors, Las Vegas, of course. You know, Las Vegas is hot, man. It's hot. And with chapter 2, I'm hoping that they see the potential for growth with this project. You know.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's you got everything available on your website, right? And
Right.
Well, you got the first episode and the trailers.
Well,
and all
we
that.
have chapter 1, which is able to be viewed on our website, Dog City Film, DOGCITYFILM.com.
Okay.
Yeah, we're exploring other venues to make it accessible. But right now we're learning a lot, man. We're learning a ton. It's almost an information overload. But we're trying to keep pace with it and you know, just put out the best product possible within our means.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully the audience, the city embraces us, see what we're doing, see how we're doing it. And they support us so we can make more of them.
And you screened the first chapter at the Fandom Bar, right?
Yeah.
Did you get any like feedback and how was
Man,
that? How
we
was
got
that?
wow. It was better than anticipated. You know, we got quite a few people there, more than we thought.
Okay.
This Q&A was a lot of people stayed for that more than I thought.
That's
Q&A
awesome.
went longer than I thought. And I did love it, man.
Yeah.
This time we're going to try to put it in a bigger venue with a more sophisticated audio, video setup. I always want to go back to the Fandom Bar. You know, they want to see it there. We'll see it there. But I think I want to showcase it in an actual theater this time because, you know, we put in a lot of work with the editing, the coloring, etc. And, you know, I want it to be appreciated on the highest capacity to be seen and heard, you know.
Dope. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Man, you know, we're looking for a late autumn release, you know, premiere, and hopefully that'll go according to plan. The first one was easy. This second one, man, was heavy. It was pretty heavy, man. But you know, like I said, we're looking for a late autumn release. You know, shout out to everybody who came and worked on the project. They did a great job. We had some veterans, we had some newbies, but everybody came and they showed up, and we got it done, man. Yeah.
Cool, man. Can't wait to see it. I'm gonna check it out. It's on the website. So that's KC. I'm gonna leave all his info below so you guys can check it out, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
All right.